welcome to the science of happiness and laughter. And it's not a joke today how hot it is it? My goodness me. I've got my fans on, hoping that you really can't hear the fans. But I'm Dr. Jacqueline Harding, and I wrote very recently The Brain That Loves to Laugh. And before that, I wrote The Brain That Loves to Play. And just as a kind of an introduction, because I'm going to take you through the science of it, but I'm going to make that as accessible as it can possibly be. So I've got some toys here to really help us dig in and get to grips with that science. I'm so not a believer in making things as hard as they can be. I'm a bearer of simple brain, and I love things to be simple, and I really love sharing this information with you. So before this book, I wrote The Brain That Loves to Play, and there was a wonderful reception to it. And I had a hunch that really laughter was underestimated for its incredible power within the home and within the educational setting. So I'm going to take you through this over the next 45 minutes, and you're very welcome to ask questions. I hear that you normally ask questions at the end, so I'll talk at you, you poor things, on this hot day for about 40 minutes or so, and then you can ask me questions. I'm also going to ask you to put A, B or C in the chat, so if you're able to do that, that would be amazing. So what is it about laughter that is the gold dust? What is it that I found? Well, for me, it was about the missing pieces. What was missing in the education sector and in our homes, in parenting, that could truly make a difference. So I'm going to tell you the answer at the beginning and at the end, and in the middle, explain it. So the gold dust actually lies in hope. And here are my glasses. Hope. We all need that rainbow of hope in our lives, both for children and for adults. We need a little touch of humour, and I'll explain why laughter does so much for the brain and the body. And on top of that, we need human connection. Now, I can't really even see you today, but I'm imagining that you're interested and that you want to bring joy into your families and in your home situation and into the educational environments where you work. And what did I find through my research? So I've conducted empirical research, and I've also trailed all the way through the masses of papers. I'm joking, because there weren't many on laughter. I'll tell you something, to every 400 papers that I could find on negative emotions, there was only one on positive. Now, why might that be? Well, of course, we need to understand about negative emotions, why we have mental health challenges, why we've got difficulties in our lives. But maybe, just maybe, by concentrating on that aspect, we've missed something around those wonderful positive emotions that make us feel better, that help us relax and make us much more open to learning. And so this is where the journey I'm going to take you on. So if you want to know from a sort of academic point of view, the studies were situated between biology and psychology, neuroscience, neurophysiology, and sociology. So I've you can imagine me mashing them all together and really understanding. Let's take a look at this little boy, and it was during COVID. He wasn't feeling very well, but his mother made him laugh. Just take a look at this. It's about 20 seconds. see there that even though he's unwell, you can hear it a little bit in his throat, that he's still able to connect with her. He's still able to allow his body to take in all those good chemicals and neurochemicals, we call them, to actually enhance his connection with his mum. Now, in the chat, do put how many times do you think adults laugh a day? You can choose A, which is 5, or B, that is 15. How many times a day do adults laugh? 5, which is A, just put in A, or 15, put in B. I'll give you a second to do that. Okay. And now, how many times a day do you think children laugh? A is 100 and B is 400. How many times a day do children laugh? A, 100, or B, 400? Okay. Now the answer is, would you believe it? The answer is, for adults, it's, if we're pushing it and we include some smiles, 15. That's tops. And for children, it's between 400 and 500 times a day. Now that made me, and I'm no rocket scientist, but I began to think, hang on, there's something important going on here. So where is that gold hidden? It's hidden within that connection. It's also hidden within a feeling of safety. Children will not laugh. Children generally do not learn. In fact, we know they don't learn unless they feel safe, unless there's a genuine interest, and that all adds up to what I've called playful triangulation. And if you were on the last webinar with me, I explained what playful triangulation is. Really dead simple. I was doing some work for Fisher-Price on toys. Now, it doesn't have to be a toy. It just has to be something that both the adult is interested in and the child is interested in. Then you get this wonderful triangle. You get the shared attention, genuine interest, and close proximity. And when we have that playful triangulation, we get the connection, we get the safety, we get the genuine interest. And that's when the gold happens. That's when laughter begins to kind of bubble up for us. We know that children's brains are plastic. We know that we've got this foamy type substance within our heads, and particularly for children between the ages of 0 and 5, it's called the exuberant period. They are exuberant in their learning, and for very good reason. That's the time to give them the connection and the safety and the genuine interest, because we know that that plasticity, neuroplasticity, is really doing its business at that time. And then the well-trodden pathways become embedded in the brain. So if they're getting lots and lots of positive experiences, that becomes embedded in the brain. Isn't that all that we want? Rather than the negative experiences, the positive, the joyful, the feeling safe, which then leads on to positive educational outcomes, is exactly what we need. Now, let's see this little baby talking to his mum, and you'll be able to see this playful triangulation, and almost you can see what's going on in their brains, where last time I talked about synchronization. Our brains are a bit like this. That can be the adult's brain, and this is the child's brain, and they become synchronized, and they begin to flow and to recognize the same things. So it activates the same neural pathways. That's very, very exciting. Let's take a look at what happens.
Do you want to watch this video with me? This is you.
Hezekiah says.
This is you when you were 6 months old.
Hezekiah saying no bed. And Mama says yes. Hezekiah says no bed. No bed. And Mama says yes bed. You say no bed. And Mama says yes bed. No bed. No bed. And Mama says yes bed.
So there you can see that shared interest where the baby is watching himself when he was a little bit younger saying, no, I don't want to go to bed. And the shared laughter and the memory and the closeness that brings is just delightful to see and to research. So why does human connection work so well for the brain? Why is it that these happiness laboratory that's happening in the brain really work so well? So now in the chat, write, put A, B or C, your answer. Is it A? Is it that that it's something that's just a happy thing to do? Or is it, that's A, or B, is it telling the child what to attend to? Or is it C, which is a human reaction that builds and protects against, for survival? I've probably just given you the obvious, haven't I? Obviously, it's C, because it's more than just simple connection or telling us what to attend to. It's really all about survival, and humans need to survive, and they survive through connection. The other day, I was sitting at the television. I don't watch television very often, but I switched on the sound bar and it said in pairing mode, waiting for connection. And that's what humans are doing. They're in pairing mode when they come into the world. They're waiting for connection. They take our cues from us. They watch our faces. They watch our body reactions. And that tells them whether the world is safe or not safe. And that opens the door for positive emotions, which opens the brain, makes it ready to be curious and to learn. So it's very, very exciting. So how did I go about the work? I traveled the world a lot in person and some virtually, and I spoke to different professors around the world, and I interviewed people. And in the book, and here it is, The Brain That Loves to Laugh, it's full of little videos in the way that you've seen it there, with little examples, photographs and case studies of actually children laughing, why they're laughing, and it's packed with science as well, but in a way that I really hope that makes it a joyful experience. How sad would it be after all that research that it became an onerous task? Anyway, let's dig just a tiny bit deeper. And this is the sciencey little bit here. I said the brain's chemical laboratory, and I really mean that, because laughter decreases cortisol, and cortisol is known to be the sort of the bad guy, and it's the stress response. So the stress response goes down, it alters dopamine and serotonin activity, meaning we feel better. It's a bit of a hit, if you like, that really makes us feel so much more positive about the world. And endorphins are secreted by laughter and helps that elevate any kind of depressed mode. So laughter is the brain's own chemical laboratory, and it helps us with uplifting the mental attitude when we're learning. So now, being a little bit more scientific, in our brains and bodies, we've got this involuntary system, and we've got the voluntary system. The involuntary means the bits that kind of you've got no choice about. You have to do it. And that is all about this little thing called the amygdala, which is no bigger than, here we go, than a little almond. And it's responsible for sometimes feeling flooded. When we get overwhelmed and we just really can't cope, the amygdala is having a heyday. And laughter helps calm down all of these, the limbic system and everything that makes us not feel quite so good. And we've also got the voluntary system with the motor cortex, which is responsible for us going ha 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 ha, because that involves our lungs and our stomach, and that all supports us being able to laugh. Some of it's voluntary and some of it is involuntary. So sometimes these communicative laughter is working at 2 levels. And what does that sound like? When we've got someone trying to stop laughing, you know, when you've heard someone laughing and you just know that you're going to laugh too, and you're trying desperately not to laugh. This is what it sounds like. One of them is inescapable, explosive laughter, and the other one isn't. Take a listen to this one.
What? Oh, God, no! I can't breathe! Oh!
And there he goes. He's got no choice. The voluntary, the involuntary within the body is in operation. It is inescapable. Let's listen to this one. I can't remember which one I put. Here we go. These are 2 people making each other laugh. And it's in that situation where one tries to stop and the other one continues laughing. A beautiful thing to hear. Hang on, let me go to the next one. So, as I said, here's a lovely AI little document. You've all got to do them, haven't you? Stress reduction, the amygdala, the oxytocin and the endorphins. That's about that connectedness, that social bonding that I talked about. The interesting thing that I found in my work is about resilience, and that's part of the prefrontal regulation, which helps you make good decisions. And apparently, laughter contributes very positively to that area in the brain. What could be better than that? So you can see how I really felt that it was a missing link, both at home and in schools as well. So what is laughter? And here, what does laughter mean to you? So maybe it means A, which is bonding, or B, is it release of emotions, or C, is it nervousness? Now, you can write A, B, or C. A is bonding, B is release of emotions, and C is nervousness. And that's neither right nor wrong. Whatever you put in there is neither right nor wrong. But what is laughter? What does it really mean to you? Just pop that in the chat and I'll look at them after. Lovely. Okay, thank you. Okay, let's just move it on. So let's really dig a bit deeper now, because we're seeing that it's a cognitive effect. It helps us understand better. It's a physical workout. You know, you actually having a good laugh is just as good as going to the gym, apparently, because it sorts out your facial and your tummy muscles and blood vessel function and cardiac and diagram. I mean, goodness me, it does the lot, and it helps us with emotional as well. So I don't know, we haven't got an awful lot of time, but let's just have a look at this one. The interesting thing about forced polite laughter, and we do it for very good reasons. If somebody tells me a joke, I'll listen to them and then I go, ha ha ha, because I want to be liked, and you don't want to be a horrible person. So we tend to laugh. Now, what we do though, is we laugh at the end of a sentence. Isn't that interesting? And it's as though we're being polite, but we know when to actually add our little bit of laughter. I'm not sure whether it's this one. Take a listen to this one. No, not that one. It's this one. You can hear that one is a polite laughter. It comes at the end of a sentence. But they're all there for a very good reason. They all serve a purpose. Let's go to the next one. So humour impacts physiological systems, and we've talked about how it actually rewards the body and the brain for laughing. And that to me meant a lot when I was looking at what it really might mean in educational settings. Now, you can choose, for this one, are the children excited? You put in the chat 1, or are they chasing each other? 2, or 3, are they being tickled? So here's the first one. Put 1 excited, 2 chasing, or 3 being tickled. Here we are. Okay, is it 1 excited, or are they being chased, or is it being tickled? 1, 2, or 3, pop it in the chat, and I'll give you the answer to this one. Pop it in the chat, the one that you think it is. And the answer is being tickled. At that stage, you can feel that hopelessness beginning to kick in. Okay, let's go to the next one. Okay, so moving on. I know I'm going at pace here, but there's so much to help you and me learn about what makes us human. So if our brains, which are, and I've got my brain here, and usually it lights up, but the battery's not working. But if our brains are helping us recognize our friends, it's helping us recognize laughter, it's helping us be social, and it's even helping us to love. And often when you see people who've just met each other, they laugh a lot. So the question is, why do children laugh so much? What is it that they're doing that maybe adults have forgotten? And I think from what I'm finding is that it's intuitively, children know that it relaxes their system. It puts their brain and body at ease. It almost acts like a coat for them. It's sort of saying, I know, yeah, be snuggled. I'm protecting you against feeling unsafe. And children often get into that kind of panic situation. It's almost like this, isn't it?
Panic! Don't panic! No panic!
And that's when we need to help them back into a calmer state. And it's when the parasympathetic nervous system comes alongside, just as I had that coat on, and calms them down. And one of the ways of helping us get back to set point and to feel better, particularly as adults as well, because we too can get ourselves in a right twitch, can't we? We all know that, is to embrace human connection and the joy and hope. So what we've often found is, and this is part of the missing chain that I've found, is that we're often Velcro for the bad things that happen in our lives. For example, if somebody came and talked to me about this webinar and said, "Do you know what, Jacqueline, it was amazing. Thank you for sharing all the research. What a shame that we couldn't hear the audio very well." Let's say, for example, you said that. Guess which bit I'd remember? Because brains are Velcro for the bad. I'd remember the bit you said about Velcro. And we're a little bit like Teflon for the good. The good things that happen tend to bounce off us. And this is Hanson's work. That isn't my own work, but his research shows us that. So children need a whole pile of positive experiences to help them get back to that point where they feel connected. And it's very much what happens in the brain. I don't know whether you can see my little, here we go. So it's almost like we touch each other's brains. We feel connected, and that sense of connection really does calm us down. So there is a place for this seemingly frivolous nature of laughter that can help us move towards feeling of safety and bonding. And the research that I'm finding is that we need to look after little brains. We need to make sure that we give them those positive, happy, joyful, hopeful moments that really do contribute to learning. And I've got what I've called my learning bus. And in my learning bus of life, we have, so as we're going on our learning journey, even throughout the rest of our lives, we need certain aspects to get on our bus. We need Mr. Safety or Mrs. Safety to get on our bus. We need hope, a sense that we will be able to learn, we will be able to understand. And we also need a little bit of humour, because it really helps us lighten the cognitive load. It's a little bit like a good workout. It does the heavy lifting for us. And this is not just research that I've been reading. I conducted my own research, which I'm hoping to be able to show you. So laughter happens. Let me tell you a joke. Okay, so what was the joke I was going to remember? So what do you call a bear with no teeth? What do you call a bear with no teeth? You call it a gummy bear. Yay! Not going to bring the house down, not incredibly funny, but your brain was then working very hard to understand that paradox. And children's brains have to work very hard to hold in tension the fact that there's a bear with no teeth, and then the gummy, and then begin to make that leap. Now, before the ages of about 6 or 7, they're not going to understand that joke, that resolution, if you like. But what you will find is that when children tell jokes, or adults are telling jokes, children want in on the action. They want to laugh with you, not because they understand, but because from a human point of view, from a humanities point of view, it's a good thing to do, to be part of the action. It's part of survival. It's part of their desire to take part in social behaviour. Okay, so people often ask me, do animals laugh? Are they having a good laugh behind our backs? Absolutely. And there are about 65 different animals that do laugh at varying degrees of understanding. But it's still good to know that humans are able to laugh with more mental flexibility, if you like. So animals will often laugh if they're being tickled or if they're being chased, but humans laugh for slightly more sophisticated reasons. So this mental gymnastics, if you like, is where you're able to keep in tension two options. Now that makes your brain work very, very hard. It takes a delightful toll on the frontal lobes. It actually helps us think better. So letting it flow, what is it that I'm saying? Safety and hope go hand in hand. Agency and play, playful times with children really do demonstrate the excellence of the brain in and brilliance of the brain in action, which leads to joy and laughter, and again carries on that hope, which then leads to curiosity and learning. One thing I found is that unless children are given the freedom for their agency, and curiosity is the very first casualty to go. It'll just go. Unless they're given agency, unless they're given a sense of safety, curiosity, that inquisitiveness, that almost meerkat moment where you see children looking around and curious and waiting for the next thing they want to learn. It's born out of this hope. It's born out of this curiosity. It will not happen. And that's really something I want to prevent happening. So we also have way deep in our biology a happiness highway. So these are like little kinesins, and they carry dopamine down these little tubes. Every day they're walking down. It's like a handover machine. And inside that, it's got all these beautiful chemicals that help us feel better. So even when maybe you felt a little bit lacking in hope, or you felt a little bit low, your biology is on your side, helping you continue to have hope. And that's why I put hope in there. Now, along my way, I also asked children what they thought laughter was. And one mother told me her 4-year-old said, I think it's an orange. That was his favourite fruit. What a beautiful, delicious way of describing laughter. And then he thought again and he said, well, actually, I think it's a rectangle, or is it a volcano? He was only 4 years of age, and yet he had more than adequately described how laughter is almost volcanic. It erupts, it encases us, it helps us feel good. And here is a mum teaching her child in such a fun way. We have to see this. Here we go.
Hello,
Now I won't you come and
say
So what mum is doing there is varying her tone. She's bringing in the element of surprise. She's got rhythm. She's got enjoyment. She's got the eye-to-eye contact. And then after, the child just recited the ABC with no problem at all. And this is what prompted my research many years ago with Sesame Street. Here they were having a good laugh while they were watching Sesame Street and learning colours, learning everything in a way that nobody could dispute. And I've worked on children's TV shows for many years, and one thing we always make sure is that humour is embedded within the TV show, because scriptwriters and TV producers know that if something's going to be memorable, just make it funny. It doesn't mean that in an educational setting you've got to go around with a joke book. We can often take our cues from the children, what they find funny. We only just have to capitalise on what they're doing. Let's move on. Because if the brain could say, well, is there an easier way to learn? Yes, it would say, give me fun, give me hope, and then I'll be able to do it. And there's just a little happiness highway showing you this. And here's a wow moment that one of the parents in the book told me about, how children will use laughter for a variety of reasons. And this purpose, the child was very young, he wanted a toy, and he sneakily swiftly replaced the toy for another and was laughing as he did it. So very complex in the way that they'll use their humour, and maybe this is not such a great example of using it for positive use, but they will learn their social etiquette in this way. But it is more than contagion. So often people say, well, we're just laughing because other people laugh. But we've noticed that children laugh as a signal to others that, yeah, come and join with me. This is fun. Let's get in this together. And you will have noticed that with young children. And children will laugh 8 times more when they're with other children, and they love sharing a happy moment together. My own research has shown that as well, that children, when they've made something creative, when they're going like, wow, look what I've done, they'll go and show someone else with a beam on their face. So we can take the lead from children with how they feel about that laughter. So they'll say things like, the laughter will say, I understand you, I want to join in, I recognise what you're saying is hilarious. Obviously they won't say it in that way, but it has layers of different meaning. I think I like you, I think I love you, why don't you be my friend? And the interesting thing is, I was just talking about TV shows, but just recently I've had the privilege of working on Toy Story. Yay!
Howdy, my name's Woody.
And their toys, which are actually
Oh, who goes there?
communicating.
Yes, sir. Never a dull moment rescuing toys. Greetings, Woody.
And
We're in this together, partner.
and I can't shut them up now.
Never know when danger will strike.
And one thing I noticed about Toy Story is that they're using humour to communicate quite a serious issue around digital media and how it's taking over childhood. So using that is really a brilliant way of helping us embed our understanding. Okay, so the brain is a predicting organ. It likes to work out what's going on. It likes to predict. And even as I've been speaking, you are spending a lot of your time predicting what I might be saying next. So your brains are working very, very hard. And we want our brains of children to be predicting really healthy, happy outcomes. Now, I just want to move this one on. And I found this on a site the other day, and I need to ask permission from this lady to reveal who it was. But she was saying that her daughter, this was in response to some research that I'd put out there, the daughter wrote a letter to her year 3 teachers for next year and said, well, it's going to be hard. So she says, so I suggest you make it fun, please. But it's sweet and it's funny, but children notice what's going on. And if we frame it in a way of work rather than play, then it becomes harder for the brain to really take that on board. So that child was predicting hard work rather than play. And this little video here is some research that I conducted in a school where the children were finding it really, really hard to understand time. So I set up a little experiment to see how much they could understand if we turned it into a joyful, happy, hopeful situation. So I took in a very clever script writer and a comedian. Take a look at what happened.
Here we go! 1, 2, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, rock! 5, 6, 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock, rock! 9, 10, 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock, rock! Around the clock tonight. It's coming back.
1, 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12.
Everyone, get to 12 o'clock. We sign at 12.
I haven't really got time to show you all of that, but it was magnificent. 100% of children were involved in it, and 100% moved up an attainment level. And that was what the teacher was saying. Let's hear what the children said about it.
How was this session different to my usual maths lessons?
Because it was we were laughing and we were learning different times to the normal ones.
What did you do in the workshop?
I was learning all of the half-past and old clock dances, and we were learning half-past and old clock, and we had some challenges.
What did you enjoy about the workshop?
Laughing.
Laughing.
Okay, so
Joshua,
you get the
what did you
idea.
learn?
Let's go on to the next one. You can see how the laughing increased attention. Now, I'm not saying we have to be comedians all day long, of course not. But I would love it one day if we had in our curriculum a prescription for joy, for hope, for happiness, and that became a priority rather than what the curriculum in a dull sense would mean. If we were to kind of shift up and switch up the script on its head and began to prioritize basic mental and emotional needs, I think we would begin to see a very different education system that really valued our brains and our bodies. So here's my playful triangulation: the eye gaze, the shared attention, and the proximity that builds up and evidences really what we mean when we're talking about hope and safety and human connection. Very quickly, I've only got about a couple of minutes to tell you that I was invited over to America, to Kentucky, in a serious spinal injury unit to help children take part in therapies when they had spinal injury. And they said, Jacqueline, can you bring a little bit, can you show us how to bring play and laughter and hope into that situation? I thought, oh my goodness, here's a real test. Anyway, when I went down the corridors and the children were from 18 months to 18 years, thankfully I didn't have to do a thing because they were already doing it. And I have a sneaky suspicion they wanted me to see it and to authenticate what they were doing. They were already laughing, they were already engaging, they were taking the agency, the lead from the child. And I tell you, not a lie, every child when I was there for 2 weeks took part in very serious therapy for their spinal cord recovery. These children couldn't work and took part in it with a smile on their face. I tell you, I was just sold. I knew from thereon that I was really onto something really quite special. And I haven't got time to show you, but I also went to Essex, where social workers working in very difficult situations were offering the language of hope. And in the book, it shows you the difference that made to the children's lives. So I'm not talking about something frivolous. I'm talking about something really everyday purpose that we can begin to make a difference. And this is also about gut health, which I haven't got time to tell you about. But just imagine what could happen if we really did begin to value some of these positive emotions in place of an emphasis on the curriculum, an emphasis on parental. Well, all day long, all I can read is that parents are under scrutiny and under terrible pressure, rather than handing over some serious responsibility to teachers and to parents who know their children very, very well. And we could lighten their load in just a way, just a fraction. I would be very, very happy. So that is a whiz tour all the way through laughter. Any questions? I'm sorry that I haven't left you long to ask me questions, but do feel free to put on your mic or to ask questions.